More discouraging news tonight about the state of education. A new Nation's report card is out and reveals dramatically spiraling grades for 8th graders in history and civics. Let's discuss this with Defense of Freedom Institute spokeswoman Angela Morabito. Angela, take a listen to this. This is the Secretary of Education earlier today responding to this news.
That is very alarming. It's disturbing, but it's not surprising, keeping in mind a year and a half ago, over half of our schools were not open for full-time learning.
So he's not surprised by the news. It's sort of alarming to hear the Secretary of Education say that.
Well, unfortunately, Jillian, I can't say I'm surprised either. These test scores weren't great before the pandemic, and now, thanks to teacher union-led school closures, they've fallen off a cliff. We've got 13% of 8th graders who are proficient in history, and these students are 4 years away from being of legal voting age. So this problem has got to get fixed, or else it is really just a threat to this republic.
Take a listen to former Education Secretary under President Trump, Betsy DeVos. She had a slightly different take.
The fact that, 87 out of 100 students are not considered proficient or don't have a fundamental knowledge of U.S. history is just inexcusable. We spend $750 billion a year on our K-12 education. We are not getting what we're spending.
What do you say?
Secretary DeVos is absolutely right, and all of the money that flowed into schools during and after COVID is proof that no amount of money can fix a broken system. Congress set aside nearly $190 billion to keep learning going, but that money hasn't made a difference. These test scores are terrible. So this is more proof that we don't need what teacher unions say, which is just to continually write more checks with taxpayer dollars. What we need is a fundamental change, and that starts with school choice.
We hear a lot about, how scores for students across the board in America have been falling in math and sciences, but this is different, right? This is a sort of more liberal arts focused group of subjects we're talking about here. I mean, if American students can't grasp the fundamentals of U.S. history, it seems particularly hopeless.
Well, it does seem hopeless, and the only way that we can get some hope out of this is to make sure we kick out progressive radical ideology from the classroom. These terrible test scores are a natural consequence of allowing things like critical race theory, DEI, gender identity politics to flow into classrooms and displace what's really important, which is the fundamental facts and principles behind America's founding and what makes this country great.
The Education Secretary, Miguel Cardona, told my colleague Trey Gowdy earlier this week sort of the reverse. He said it's these conservative practices of banning books, banning certain kinds of speech in classroom that's really leading to this degradation.
He's off the mark. I think Secretary Cardona needs to take a look in the mirror, and he needs to take a long look at his teacher union allies who are using their collective bargaining agreements to shoehorn more and more woke ideology into our classrooms. It is folks like the Defense of Freedom Institute who are trying to get politics out of the classroom so we can get back to those core subjects, reading, writing, arithmetic, science, history, and civics that students need to be successful in college or career or wherever they go next.
All right, Angela, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Jillian.